Hi, everybody. This week is potato bread. So this is going to be really soft and tender. And the recipe says to use mashed potatoes, which is totally fine if you have mashed potatoes, if you are using leftovers, if you want to take the time to make mashed potatoes. Personally, as a mom of two, it's a little bit difficult for me every time I want to make potato bread. So I get potato flakes and I make my own mashed potatoes. And so you need, what is it? You need, I think, 1 cup, total of mashed potatoes. So this is some of the flakes, and then you add some milk, and then you add in water, and then you just let it sit for a little bit while I do the rest of the things. I usually have it sit, and what's the 2/3? There it is. And then it will soak up the liquid, and it'll be ready to go. Give it a little stir, and then the mashed potatoes are going to be ready when we are putting our dough together. So I just wanted to hydrate a bit more, but basically that's what I got. And it just gives a really nice tender texture to the inside, to the crumb of the bread. All right, so I'm just gonna let that sit for a few. Okay, potato bread. This one, what did I want to talk about? Oh, this uses the dough hook and the paddle beater on the mixer. So I just wanted to go over attachments really quickly. So this is the whisk. This is what we use to get air into things. If you're making whipped cream, if you are beating up eggs, if you're making a batter, cake batter, things like that, then your whisk is what you're going to be calling for. This guy is your paddle beater. This has more surface area here and doesn't have this big area that's empty in the middle. This is what's going to be getting that air into there. This is for when you don't want air, you want to mix. So this is, instead of using your wooden spoon, you can use this guy, and it's going to mix together your ingredients. And then, of course, you have your dough hook, and this is, instead of kneading by hand, you're going to use this because it is, the shape of it is pushing it and wrapping it and pulling the dough so that the gluten activates in the same way as when you are doing a hand kneading kind of motion. So for this, we are using these two. Everything else is pretty straightforward with this recipe. Right now we are going to, I have my flour in here, just add all of the ingredients together. As for the butter, I usually don't prep as much as I should. So the butter was cold before I started setting up, and I just cut it up like this so that it was less surface area for it to soften. Otherwise, it's going to take it a while. But by now, it should be pretty well softened because I cut it into thin slices. And so this is a 1.5 sticks of butter. But I also left it out. I didn't put it in a bowl because I wanted the air to circulate around it and soften it faster. And it's only 57 degrees here, so I don't have the oven preheating or anything yet. So the temperature outside is 57, and it's still softened up pretty well. So it'll be good. All right. So I have yeast, and I'm just dumping these all in, and sugar. Okay, then the water. I always start with the lower amount that they give. Sometimes I even hold back on that a little bit. So I've done this recipe quite a few times, so I'm going to do the lower amount. Let's see, the butter is in there, salt, 2 large eggs, always crack on the counter, otherwise you risk getting shell or knocking over your bowl, or there's a whole plethora of things. And it's fun to just be able to really whack it on the counter sometimes. Okay, and then the mashed potatoes. So this is how they came out. Probably a little bit drier than if I were doing mashed potatoes. So maybe I'll just add a tiny bit more water to this. Oh, and this was hot water. It's in here because I had it boiling so that it would absorb more quickly. I just put in a little bit more, but I also don't want to put the boiling water into here so much because I have yeast and it will kill it. And I was trying to be careful to not put the salt right on top of the yeast because that won't be too good for it either. All right, so here's all of our ingredients. Doesn't look too pretty right now, but I'm going to get this going and then we'll see. You always start your mixer on the lowest setting when you have a lot of ingredients, especially wet ones, because they will tend to slosh out. So you can do this, let it get all mixed together, and then I'll turn it up a little bit higher. Just level 3, a little bit too high, so I'll do level 2. And I can see that the butter is breaking up in there, so that's good. All right, I'm gonna have to scrape this down. Let's get it out of the inside of the paddle and then off of the sides of the bowl so that makes sure everything gets incorporated. Give it another go here, and then I'll bring it over, show you, and then I'll keep it going. And sometimes I will turn the mixer a little bit higher and slowly drop down the bowl because I have the one that the bowl moves, not the top. And it'll help, I'll show you, it'll help to move the dough to the bottom and get it kind of off of there a little bit started for you. So now instead of having to go through all of these different areas, I can kind of do this. All right. So there's that. And I'll give it one more round on here, and then I'll switch to the dough hook. It says for like 7 minutes because you want it to come together. It'll start to look a little bit kind of shiny, which is cool. And this is how it is right now. So it's coming together. It's still very, very soft. It's going to be a soft dough because of the potato aspect of it. And that's what you want with potato bread. And that's when people do all of the cute like cutting or crimping and things like that. It's white bread, but also potato bread is really good for that. It has a lot of moisture in there. All right, so I'm gonna keep going on this and I'll show you after I'm done with the dough hook. So this is where we are. It is a very soft dough. It's gonna get softer because as it rises, it will get a lot of air in it. So we'll still be able to shape it exactly how we need to, but this is the softness of it. Okay. So the dough has done its initial rise, and now I'm going to take it out of here and kind of form it into logs. It's very soft, so I'm going to handle it carefully. Make sure you have no jewelry on because it will definitely stick. And take this, and I have my 2 pans here doing the Pullman pans, and I have a bigger and a smaller just because it's going to work out better that way with the amount of dough I have. So I'm going to take this one, and really I want to make sure I have enough for the large loaf pan, and then the smaller one is kind of whatever, just whatever is left over. I don't know if you can see, it's really nice and soft. So I'm just going to actually use this. All right, I'm going to keep it all together here and try and just kind of create this shape of a log and elongate it so that I can fit it into the long one. Now with Pullman loaves, with these ones specifically, you don't have to grease them. So it's really nice. They are really great pans. Now I'm just going to do this, and then I will fight with it in here. Really not much fighting, but unless you're wanting to put something on the outside for it to have kind of a crust of something, you don't need to put anything onto here to grease it. Like I do with the English muffin bread, when I put the cornmeal on it, then yes, I will do that because it has to stick to something. But other than that, I'm just going to put this in here. Fill in the corners a little bit. But the nice thing about these soft doughs is when they rise, they fill in all those little things and they smooth out those rough edges. So you don't have to worry too much about it. So now these are going to do their final proof, and then they'll go in the oven. So we'll let them rest. Okay, so the dough has done its second proof, and you can see it's up at the top now, which is perfect. This one, we didn't expect it to rise as much because this was just left over from what I thought this would need. So this one's good, but I don't want to poke it too much, but I do want to show you how light and fluffy. So I don't know if you can see it very well. Let me try again. Like it just feels like a cloud. All right, so I'm not going to put anything on top of this. The recipe says to tent it after it cooks for a little while, but I'm going to see how it is. That's just so the top doesn't get too brown. But we're going to take a look at that 30-minute point and see if it needs that, and then we'll evaluate from there. Okay, so I did the 30 minutes, and then I decided not to tent it, so I did an extra 10, and I want to test the temperature now to see if they're ready to come out. It looks so pretty. Okay, so you always, if you have two different size loaves, you always want to test the bigger one because you want to make sure that one is cooked all the way through and the other one will automatically be. So let's see here. Right into the middle, 198. And I'm going to just pick one more spot. Yep, 201. Okay, so these are good. And I'll just put them onto the cooling rack so that they can cool off, and we'll try them. So I'll put this on here, super hot, and then I'll stand it up so it can have more air circulation as it cools, and then we'll come back for a taste test. Okay, so this isn't completely cooled yet, but it's still going to be good enough to cut into so I can show you. This has a nice shape to it. The thing with potato bread that you have to remember is that it dries out quickly. So if you leave it out overnight to cool, if you take it out of the oven right before you go to bed, it's going to be pretty crispy in the morning. So you're going to want to make sure that you wrap it up, put it in your bread box, or however you store your bread. You're going to want to make sure that it is safe because it will draw the moisture out of this a lot. It's still yummy, but then you're going to be more kind of crouton or breadcrumb mode with it. I'm going to get some steam here, but oh man, it is so pillowy. It is so nice. And yeah, it's still steaming, but it's like heavenly puffy beauty. Give it a taste. Right. And just to show you, it's soft and pliable, but it still has a nice crust on the top as well. All right, let's give it a try. I mean, it's everything I want in a simple loaf of bread. It has nice saltiness to it. It's tender. It has a sturdy enough crumb that you're going to be able to toast it and have it hold up, but it's still really soft. So, thank you for joining me this week. And until next week, have a good one.